You've been looking for a loud sign from God, but He's been speaking in whispers. This will make you rethink everything you thought you knew. My beloved soul, you have been searching for thunder, but heaven has been speaking in a whisper. You've been waiting for the clouds to break, for a sign so loud that your spirit would tremble. Yet Archangel Michael says tonight, it was never in the storm. The voice of God was hidden in the silence between your thoughts. Many of you have cried, Lord, just show me something. You've walked through nights where your prayers hit the ceiling and fell back on you like rain. But child, hear this carefully. He was answering all along. Every delay, every closed door, every sudden peace in the middle of confusion, that was His whisper. Archangel Michael stands beside you right now and says, you have mistaken stillness for absence. But heaven has been at work in your quiet. There are moments you ignored, the dream you brushed aside, the song that stirred your chest for no reason, the sudden memory that came as you close your eyes. Those were not coincidences. They were divine taps on your shoulder. The angel says, you were waiting for a shout from the heavens, but your destiny was hidden in the whisper of obedience. It's not the noise of the world that carries His message. It's the gentle nudge in your heart that says, go left, not right, call that person, forgive that name, wait one more day. My child, this whisper is about to unlock something so massive that even your confusion will make sense. You are being repositioned for revelation. And that's why you felt an unseen stirring in your chest lately, not anxiety, but awakening. Hold on, because in the next moment, you'll see how every quiet season has been shaping your discernment. A whisper you almost ignored is about to become your greatest confirmation. Before you scroll, remember, sometimes heaven hides its loudest miracles inside the softest moments. Stay with me, because what's coming next will make your spirit tremble with recognition. Type "I hear the whisper" in the comments if this message resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 1010 has just been released. Clarity is coming to your silence. Child of light, Archangel Michael stands before you again and says, heaven has never been silent. You were just surrounded by too much noise. The world has been teaching you to chase after drama, to look for flashing lights and spectacular moments, but the kingdom moves differently. God does not compete with the noise of this world. He whispers because His voice carries authority that does not need to shout. When you learn to be still, you will begin to hear the symphony that was always playing beneath your chaos. There are moments when you thought heaven had forgotten you, when prayers went unanswered, when everything around you fell quiet. But in that sacred quiet, something divine was being written into your timeline. Archangel Michael says, you were not being ignored, you were being trained to hear. Every delay was fine-tuning your spiritual frequency so that when the true message came, you wouldn't mistake it for coincidence. You see, the whisper is not weakness, it's wisdom. Only those who are spiritually awake can hear it. This is why lately, your spirit feels uneasy around certain people and places. It's not paranoia. It's discernment awakening inside you. The whisper of God will often warn you before the storm even forms. You'll feel the atmosphere shift, a strange stirring in your chest, a sudden urge to pause or to step back. That is not fear, that is guidance. Archangel Michael wants you to understand, divine whispers are the language of protection. When you obey the whisper, you avoid the warfare. Think about it. The loudest voices in your life told you to rush, to prove yourself, to demand answers now. But the whisper says, wait. The whisper says, I'm still working. The whisper says, you don't need to fight for what's already yours. This is why your peace has been attacked, because the enemy knows that peace is where you hear God most clearly. And when you finally quiet your mind long enough to listen, you will discover that heaven has been guiding your every step since the beginning. The angel declares, "You are standing on holy ground, even if it feels like confusion." Because the whisper is moving through the cracks of your brokenness, shaping something new, something eternal. You may not hear thunder, but creation itself responds to your stillness. God's whisper carries more power than any storm, because it does not need volume to create change. It only needs your attention. Stay here with me for a moment. The next revelation will expose why you were led through silence and what that silence was protecting you from. What's coming next is the turning point, and when you hear it, everything inside you will align. Type "I hear you, Lord" in the comments if this message touches your soul. Blessing code 1212 has now been activated. Divine discernment is awakening within you. Dearest child of the light, Archangel Michael comes forward again, and his presence carries the weight of revelation. He says, "Many of you have mistaken divine silence for divine distance. But heaven has been closer than your very breath." When God stops speaking loudly, it is not punishment, it is invitation. The whisper is how he draws you nearer, so close that you have to lean into his presence just to hear his heartbeat. This is where true intimacy begins. This is where revelation stops being information and becomes transformation. Think of Moses on the mountain. The thunder rolled, the earth shook, but God was not in the fire or the earthquake. He came in a still, small voice. That whisper held more power than all the shaking of the earth. The same voice is now hovering over your situation. Archangel Michael says, "You have been praying for signs when the sign is already speaking from within." The peace that refuses to leave you, even when logic tells you to panic, that is the whisper. The sudden clarity in confusion, that is the whisper. The urge to forgive, even when you have every reason to hold bitterness, that is the whisper. Many of you have asked, "Why can't I hear God like before?" But what if you were never meant to hear him the same way again? Growth demands a new frequency. You are being tuned into heaven's quiet wavelength, the one the enemy cannot intercept. Archangel Michael says, "The enemy roars, but God whispers." The lion tries to distract, but the whisper directs. The whisper carries coded instruction only your spirit can decode. It is divine encryption. And now, something even deeper is unfolding. Some of you have been placed in a season where everything went silent. Relationships paused, opportunities vanished, doors closed with no explanation. You thought heaven had turned its face from you, but that silence was actually a shield that protected you from connections that would have corrupted your destiny. God was whispering, "Not this one. Not yet. Not there." What looked like rejection was redirection through divine whispers. Archangel Michael says, when you finally surrender your need for noise, heaven will speak with precision. And you will realize that what looked like delay was divine alignment. The whisper has been leading you to a place where your spirit will no longer chase confirmation, it will become confirmation. You will not need a sign when you are the sign. Hold steady now. You are moments away from a shift in perception that will change how you hear God forever. The next revelation will show you how to move from hearing whispers to walking in them. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. This next part will open a mystery that has been hidden for years. Before we move forward, take a moment to breathe in this truth. Let your soul quiet itself. This message is more than words, it is a divine encounter. If your heart feels stirred, it is because the whisper is already moving through you right now. If this message has touched your heart, make sure you like, share, and comment so this word can reach others who are still searching for loud signs in their silence. Subscribe to stay connected with these prophetic revelations that Archangel Michael is releasing for this hour. Type "I receive the whisper" in the comments to confirm your alignment with this revelation. Lesson code 1444 has now been activated. Doors of divine hearing are opening for those who are ready. Beloved one, as you carry this message in your heart, remember that every word you help release becomes a seed of light in someone's darkness. Archangel Michael reminds you that when you give into the work of heaven, you are not just supporting a message, you are sowing into souls that are desperate to hear the voice of God again. Scripture declares that those who water others will themselves be watered. As you give, your own whisper of guidance becomes louder and clearer. I personally invite you, right now, to stand with this divine mission through Super Thanks, channel membership, or by giving through PayPal using the link in the description. Your offering is not a donation. It is a prophetic act that opens the windows of heaven over your life. The oil of clarity and discernment will begin to flow upon every giver. Step into it with faith. Heaven is watching your response. Precious heart, Archangel Michael stands once again at the doorway of your understanding, holding a scroll sealed with light. He says, "Child, there are dimensions of the whisper you have not yet understood. You have heard it in moments of peace, but now you must learn to hear it in the tension, in the space where your faith feels stretched, in the moments that test your trust. The whisper of God is not limited to comfort. Sometimes it comes disguised as confusion, wrapped in a question you don't yet know how to answer. The Lord is not hiding from you. He is teaching you to see through silence. When your world seems still, heaven is not inactive. The whisper is often building behind the scenes, lining people, preparing places, and adjusting circumstances that your eyes cannot yet perceive. Archangel Michael says, when you can't trace his hand, listen for his breath. Every whisper of God carries breath, life, instruction, power. You have mistaken quietness for inaction, but the whisper is a sign that something is being birthed. The spiritual womb of your destiny does not make noise when it creates. It grows in divine stillness. Many of you are standing in front of something that seems lifeless, a dream that no longer stirs, a vision that feels forgotten. But the angel of the Lord declares, you are in the womb of waiting. The whisper is not saying it's over. It's saying be patient. The pulse is returning. The whisper is the heartbeat of heaven, assuring you that what you planted in prayer has not died. It is germinating under divine timing. You do not need thunder to prove life exists beneath the soil. The seed grows in silence, and so do you. Archangel Michael reveals that in this season, heaven is testing your ability to discern the difference between stillness and stagnation. Stagnation paralyzes, but stillness prepares. When God calls you to stillness, He is preparing you to carry weight you have not yet been trained to handle. The whisper is equipping you quietly, molding you without applause, shaping your endurance in secret. And soon, when the right moment arrives, your obedience in the whisper will manifest as visible favor before the world. Think of Elijah in the cave, desperate, weary, expecting God to reveal Himself through wind, fire, or quake. But the voice came softly, almost hidden, yet filled with infinite power. That is the language of intimacy. Heaven does not need volume when it speaks from within you. The next time you sense that faint nudge in your spirit, that small pull in your heart that says, wait, or move now, recognize that this is not your thought. It is the whisper of destiny aligning your path. You are being trained to rule your realm by sound, not by sight, not by emotion, but by the quiet sound of divine instruction. Those who can hear God in whispers will one day command mountains with words. Archangel Michael says, if you learn to hear him in silence, you will recognize him in storms. And soon, when the winds rise again, you will not fear them, because you will know his voice even there. Before you move, take this moment to pause. This message is not reaching you by accident. There is a confirmation waiting in the next revelation, something that will connect every silent season you have endured. Stay with me. What's about to unfold next will expose the real reason God chose to whisper to you instead of shouting. Type "I trust the whisper" in the comments if you feel heaven stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1555 has been released. Divine patience and hidden power are now being awakened within you. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now steps forward holding a sword of light that glows not with fire, but with calm. His voice is steady, and he says, "The whisper of God is not only to comfort you, it is to command your steps. You were never meant to live from miracle to miracle. You were meant to live from whisper to whisper, to walk so closely with heaven that a single breath from the Spirit becomes your compass. The enemy shouts to confuse you, but heaven whispers to direct you. And in this hour, heaven is teaching you how to recognize that sacred direction in ways you never imagined. You've been trained by the noise of this world to believe that movement always means progress, that loud success equals divine approval. But God's rhythm is not the rhythm of man. The whisper will often lead you against logic, telling you to pause when everyone else is rushing, to stay when others are leaving, to step forward when the path looks invisible. Archangel Michael says, "The whisper is heaven's map in a world that walks by sight. Those who cannot hear it will wander endlessly, but those who tune their spirit will walk paths others can't even see." Do you remember how Abraham was told to leave everything familiar behind? There was no trumpet, no earthquake, no visible sign. It was a whisper. "Go to a land I will show you." That one whisper birthed generations. What if the whisper you're ignoring today carries a nation's destiny inside it? Heaven is waiting for your yes, not your understanding. The whisper does not explain itself before it reveals itself. It requires trust before confirmation. This is why you've been uncomfortable lately. You are being separated from old noise so you can discern new instruction. People may misunderstand you. They may think you've gone quiet because you're lost. But Archangel Michael says, you are not lost. You are listening. God isolates before he elevates. The silence around you is not rejection. It is refinement. He is refining your spiritual frequency so the next instruction will be unmistakable. Some of you have been restless because you feel like nothing is moving. But movement in heaven often begins with a whisper on earth. Every breakthrough starts with a voice you almost ignored. That dream you keep revisiting, that gentle tug toward a new beginning, that unexplainable peace about something impossible. These are all divine breadcrumbs leading you to your next door. Heaven does not need to shout for obedience. It simply waits for agreement. Archangel Michael reveals this truth. The whisper is the signature of divine authority. It does not beg to be believed. It simply creates when you respond. The whisper of God does not compete with your fear. It overrides it. When you align with it, everything that once seemed impossible starts to rearrange itself. The same way creation began, with God speaking quietly into nothing, your next chapter will begin with a whisper that reshapes everything you thought you knew. Pause for a moment and breathe in that stillness. What you are feeling right now, that subtle warmth, that peace under your ribs, that is the presence of God confirming that this message is for you. Do not rush away from this moment. There's a revelation waiting in the next release that will reveal why the whisper is the weapon heaven has hidden in plain sight. You're closer than you realize to unlocking what this silence has been preparing you for. Type "I walk by the whisper" in the comments if this is stirring your faith. Blessing code 1717 is now active. Heaven's direction and divine clarity are aligning your path even as you read this. Child of destiny, Archangel Michael appears again, his wings stretching across the horizon of your understanding. His tone is both commanding and tender as he says, "You have been asking for confirmation, but heaven has already spoken. You simply have not recognized the form in which it came." The whisper is not always words. Sometimes it manifests through timing, through patterns, through peace that does not make sense, through people whose arrival seems random yet carries divine purpose. Heaven speaks in layers, not in volume. Every detail around you is a message written by the breath of God, waiting for your spiritual eyes to open. Many of you have been walking in confusion, not because heaven is silent, but because you are expecting the voice to sound like it did before. But Archangel Michael says, the frequency of this season is different. The whisper of God evolves as you grow. When you were new in faith, you needed thunder. But now that you have matured, heaven speaks softly, not because you are forgotten, but because you are trusted. The whisper is the language of intimacy. God speaks softly only to those who have drawn near enough to hear him. Do you understand the honor in that? The whisper means you have graduated from needing signs to recognizing presence. When heaven whispers, it is saying, "You already know my voice. I no longer need to shout." This is the phase where your discernment becomes your divine currency. You will begin to sense what others cannot explain. You will know when to move before the door opens, and when to wait before the storm comes. That is not intuition. It is instruction from above. Archangel Michael leans closer now and says, the reason the whisper is so sacred is because it bypasses confusion. The enemy can counterfeit signs, manipulate emotions, and stir chaos, but he cannot imitate divine peace. The whisper of God carries a unique calm that silences every counterfeit voice. Whenever you are unsure of which direction to take, choose the path where peace is constant. Peace is the proof of the whisper's authenticity. You have been through storms that made you question your ability to hear. You thought you lost connection. But heaven has never disconnected from you. It simply changed frequency. Silence is not distance, it's depth. You were being drawn beneath the surface, away from shallow faith into a deeper dimension of trust. The whisper teaches you to depend not on signs, but on relationship. Once you master this, no force in darkness can deceive you again. Archangel Michael says, the whisper is heaven's secret weapon against the noise of this world. While the world screams for attention, heaven is training a generation that listens with stillness. You are part of that generation. The fact that you are here, reading these words, proves that your spirit has been chosen for this awakening. You will begin to hear divine instruction even in your daily routine, while driving, while walking, while sitting in silence. God's whispers are about to invade your ordinary moments with extraordinary direction. Take this as your confirmation. You have not been forgotten. You have been refined. The whisper that once confused you is now your compass. And the moment you act on it, doors that resisted you will swing open without effort. Your obedience in the quiet will command breakthrough in the visible. Stay close, because the next revelation will reveal what happens when you respond to the whisper, when action meets faith and silence turns into manifestation. Type "I move" with the whisper in the comments if your heart bears witness to this truth. Blessing code 1818 has just been released. Divine wisdom and supernatural direction are being unlocked for you now. Chosen vessel, the whisper has followed you through valleys, through stillness, through confusion, and now Archangel Michael says, it is time to respond. The whisper was never meant to simply comfort you. It was designed to activate you. Heaven never speaks idly. Every whisper carries a mission, an instruction, a seed that must be acted upon. Many have heard God's whisper but stayed still, waiting for something louder to confirm it. But this is the truth. The confirmation will only come after you obey the whisper, not before it. Faith moves first, evidence comes after. Archangel Michael stands before you and declares, your next breakthrough is hidden inside your last instruction. Think back to the moment you felt a gentle nudge in your spirit, the idea you dismissed as random, the thought that wouldn't leave your heart, the person you felt led to forgive, the door you were too afraid to knock on. Those were not coincidences. They were divine directives. Heaven whispered, but you hesitated. And now the angel says, it's time to move. The whisper has matured into command, and obedience is your key to the next season. The world teaches you to wait until everything makes sense before taking a step. But heaven operates differently. God gives you a whisper so small that you have to trust Him completely to move on it. The whisper is the test of your intimacy. Will you trust what you heard in the stillness more than what you see in the noise? The whisper trains your faith to act without applause, to believe without validation. Archangel Michael says, heaven rewards obedience, not volume. The quiet yes that no one hears in the natural shakes the realm of the spirit. You may ask, but what if I get it wrong? The angel smiles and answers, then heaven will redirect you, not reject you. God is not looking for perfect hearing. He is looking for willing hearts. Even if you misstep, obedience in motion is easier to guide than hesitation in fear. The whisper will always lead you back, because the shepherd never stops speaking to the one who listens. What you call a mistake, heaven calls a rehearsal for discernment. Each time you follow the whisper, your hearing becomes sharper, your trust becomes deeper, and your alignment becomes stronger. Archangel Michael reveals something powerful now. The reason why heaven whispers instead of shouting. The shout moves crowds, but the whisper creates warriors. God is not raising people who follow noise. He is raising listeners who can govern by stillness. The loud signs may attract attention, but the whispers build authority. You are being trained for leadership, not entertainment. That is why heaven has been quiet around you, because you are in spiritual training for something greater than applause. The next time the whisper comes, and it will come soon, do not wait for clarity, move with conviction. The moment you act, you'll notice heaven rearrange the atmosphere around you. Opportunities will emerge where there were none. People will appear who carry what you need. Circumstances will bend in your favor, not because you shouted, but because you obeyed. It is how power flows from silence, through trust, through movement, through obedience to the unseen. Pause for a moment and feel this truth settle in your heart. The whisper you obey will become the miracle others will one day testify about. And in the next revelation, Archangel Michael will show you what happens when the whisper you followed becomes a wave that changes everything. Stay near, for what comes next is the unveiling of divine manifestation. Type I obey the whisper in the comments if this message speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 1919 has just been released. May your obedience unlock divine acceleration and favor in hidden places. Beloved child of the Eternal, the time of manifestation has begun. Archangel Michael stands before you in radiant stillness, his countenance filled with authority and peace. His voice does not echo like thunder, yet every word reverberates through your spirit. He says, when you obey the whisper, creation responds. Heaven has been waiting for your agreement, and now that you have said yes, the atmosphere is shifting in your favor. The whisper that once seemed small has activated movement in realms you cannot see. You have unlocked motion in heaven by trusting what others could not even hear. Look around you. Situations that once seemed frozen are beginning to move again. Doors that were sealed shut are starting to open quietly, naturally, effortlessly. The whisper you obeyed has turned into a current that is guiding events into divine order. Archangel Michael says, "The proof of obedience is not noise, it is flow." You are stepping into a divine rhythm where everything begins to align, not because you forced it, but because you heard and responded. You are no longer striving. You are synchronizing with heaven's pace. The angel reveals that every act of obedience amplifies the whisper. What you once had to strain to hear will soon become your constant inner guidance. The still small voice that led you once in a moment will now begin to lead you daily, through your thoughts, your emotions, your surroundings. You will find yourself speaking differently, moving differently, discerning differently. That is the mark of transformation, when the whisper becomes your lifestyle. You no longer chase God's voice, you carry it. Understand this, beloved. The whisper is creative power. When you respond, it multiplies. The whisper you obey becomes the sound that shapes your reality. It creates opportunities, rearranges timelines, and calls forth favor. It is the same voice that spoke light into darkness, and it is now speaking through you. Every time you align with that sound, heaven finds expression on earth. Archangel Michael says, when your obedience harmonizes with God's whisper, you become his echo in this world. Do not underestimate the quiet victories that are unfolding around you. That moment you chose peace instead of argument, the time you stayed silent instead of reacting, the decision you made to forgive. Those were moments of divine warfare won through whisper-led obedience. Heaven saw every one of them. You didn't need to shout, because authority does not need noise. Your quiet yes carried the sound of heaven's trumpet. The angel continues, now that you have obeyed the whisper, prepare for manifestation. What you have been sensing in your spirit will soon take form in the natural. Something you prayed about in silence is about to reveal itself openly. People will call it sudden, but you will know it was a whisper all along. And when it happens, do not hide what you have learned. Share it. Speak it. Let the same whisper that transformed you reach others who are still trapped in noise. You have become a carrier of peace in a loud world. Before the next revelation unfolds, take a sacred moment to lift your spirit in gratitude. What heaven began in whispers is now manifesting as movement. The next unfolding will reveal how this new dimension of hearing transforms not only your journey, but those connected to your destiny. If this message has awakened something within you, take a moment to like, share, and comment so that others can hear what heaven is whispering in this hour. Subscribe to stay connected as more prophetic words are released, carrying light to those searching in silence. Type I flow with the whisper in the comments to seal this manifestation within your spirit. Blessing code 2020 has now been released. Divine flow and effortless alignment are being activated for all who receive. Beloved listener, Archangel Michael declares that what you have just received is not merely a message, it is a mantle. Every time this word is shared, the whisper of heaven reaches another soul wandering in the noise. This mission exists to awaken hearts that have forgotten how to listen. When you give into this work, you are not supporting a channel, you are sowing into divine communication across the earth. Scripture says, "My sheep hear my voice." Through your giving, you help amplify that voice to those who have forgotten how to hear. I speak this directly from the Spirit. Your seed carries frequency. It will return to you as multiplied clarity, peace, and provision. As you release through Super Thanks, channel membership, or PayPal using the link in the description, you are unlocking a personal cycle of divine dialogue with heaven. Every act of generosity is a prophetic agreement that says, God, I am listening. The whisper will grow louder in your life, and doors that have been silent will begin to speak again. Step into this moment boldly. Heaven is waiting for your yes. Child of the covenant, Archangel Michael speaks again, his tone filled with the kind of calm that makes all confusion bow. Now that the whisper has begun to move through your life, he says, you must learn to protect it. The whisper is delicate, not because it is weak, but because it is sacred. It cannot dwell in a heart filled with noise. Many lose the whisper not because heaven stopped speaking, but because the world grew too loud. The whisper requires atmosphere, a space of stillness, humility, and focus. It survives where peace is protected. Archangel Michael leans close and reveals, the enemy's greatest strategy is not always destruction, it is distraction. If the adversary can keep your mind busy, your emotions crowded, your schedule consumed, then your ability to hear will fade and confusion will take root. You will find yourself chasing signs again, forgetting that you were once trained to live by stillness. The whisper is like flame. It doesn't fight for air. It needs you to make room. This is why heaven has been calling you to simplify, to detach, to return to quiet. Every layer of silence you create becomes a new frequency where divine messages can be received without interference. There are certain people and environments that cannot coexist with the whisper. You have felt this lately, moments where you enter a conversation or room, and your peace instantly diminishes. That is not mere emotion. It is discernment warning you that the whisper cannot operate in that atmosphere. Archangel Michael says, peace is your compass. When it leaves, heaven is signaling you to shift. Protect your peace as though it were your breath. The whisper rides on peace. Lose your peace, and you lose direction. The angel reveals another mystery. You must learn to feed the whisper. Just as fire needs fuel, revelation needs reflection. When heaven speaks softly, meditate on what you heard. Write it down. Guard it. Do not rush to announce every whisper you receive, because some words are not for public release. They are for personal preparation. The reason many lose their clarity is because they share prematurely. The whisper is like a seed. If you dig it up too early, it dies before it grows. Allow heaven to water it through patience until it becomes visible fruit. This is also why God sometimes seems to stop speaking. It is not silence, it is waiting. Heaven waits for your last obedience before releasing the next whisper. You cannot demand a new instruction when you have not completed the last one. Archangel Michael says, finish what was whispered before asking for what's next. Your faithfulness in small whispers determines your readiness for louder assignments. When you honor the quiet, heaven trusts you with the sound. Listen closely, for this moment marks a shift. You are now entering the stage where the whisper becomes constant communication, a partnership with heaven. You will begin to sense divine nudges in daily life, answers before questions, peace before action. That is how sons and daughters of light live, not by miracles alone, but by divine dialogue. Before we move deeper into this revelation, pause and honor the stillness around you. The next unveiling will show you how the whisper transforms into authority, how what you have been hearing in secret will soon begin to carry weight in the visible. You are being prepared not only to listen to heaven, but to speak for it. Type "I protect the whisper" in the comments if you can feel this truth stirring in your soul. Blessing code 2121 has now been released. Divine protection and spiritual clarity surround you from this moment forward. Beloved child of light, Archangel Michael stands now in the center of your atmosphere, and the air itself seems to listen. His voice carries the weight of eternity as he declares, The whisper you have protected is about to become your weapon. You have learned to hear it, to obey it, to guard it, and now heaven is ready to release its power through you. The whisper of God was never meant to be kept as a secret sound. It was meant to become the authority of your words. Every whisper you've received was preparing you to speak with heaven's tone. You are moving from hearing revelation to releasing it. The angel continues, "You have walked through silence so that your speech could carry substance. The reason your voice was silenced for a time, the reason you felt forgotten or overlooked, was because heaven was refining your sound. When you speak now, it will not be like before. Your words will carry the resonance of heaven's breath. The whisper you once strained to hear has now fused with your spirit. You are no longer merely listening for the voice of God. You are becoming a vessel through which it speaks. Archangel Michael reminds you of a sacred principle. Heaven trusts only those who have proven they can handle silence. The whisper was your training ground. Now your words are about to carry the same peace that once carried you. When you speak into confusion, peace will settle. When you pray for others, alignment will come. When you declare truth, it will not fall to the ground empty. The whisper has turned your voice into a channel of creation. The same breath that spoke galaxies into being now speaks through you. Understand this divine law. True authority is birthed in quietness. The prophets who changed nations were not loud by nature. They were loud by spirit. Their sound carried the echo of intimacy. The world amplifies noise, but heaven amplifies purity. That is why you were stripped of applause, isolated from recognition, and drawn into seasons of solitude. Heaven was purifying the tone of your heart so that your voice would no longer be mixed with ego or fear. Every whisper you endured in private was preparing you for public impact. Archangel Michael says, "Now, when you speak, darkness will recognize the sound of who sent you." This is not poetic. It is spiritual law. The same way the demons recognized the authority in Jesus' voice, creation will recognize the whisper within yours. When you pray, the atmosphere will bend. When you declare peace, storms will obey. You will not need to raise your tone, for heaven does not shout, it commands. You have been entrusted with its same power. The whisper inside you has become divine decree. Child of promise, the angel now unveils a deeper truth. Heaven has been whispering not only to lead you, but to teach you how to speak heaven's language. The more you align with the whisper, the more your words will create. That is why the next season of your life will require you to be selective with speech. Your words are no longer ordinary. They are charged with creative force. Speak only what aligns with peace, truth, and light. Anything spoken in fear will lose power instantly, but anything spoken in faith will manifest quickly. You are entering a realm where heaven and earth meet in your mouth. When you pray, you will sense the whisper forming the words before you speak them. When you encourage others, you will notice divine timing. And when you remain silent, you will know it is because heaven is still forming the next decree. The whisper has become your rhythm, your compass, and your weapon. Hold this moment carefully. The next revelation will reveal what happens when the whisper you carry becomes contagious, when it begins awakening those around you who have forgotten how to hear. The shift you are about to witness is not only personal, it is generational. Stay close, for heaven is about to multiply the sound that was once only yours. Type "I speak with heaven's whisper" in the comments if your spirit bears witness to this truth. Blessing code 2323 has now been released. Your words are anointed to create alignment, healing, and authority wherever they are spoken. My dearest one, Archangel Michael appears again, and this time, his presence carries a softness unlike before. There is no battle cry, no flash of light, only peace so thick that it feels like breath on your skin. He says, now that you carry the whisper, it will begin to awaken others. The purpose of hearing heaven's whisper was never to keep it for yourself. It was to become a living echo of that voice in the lives of those who have forgotten how to listen. You have been entrusted with the responsibility to awaken the stillness in others. When you speak, it will not just be words, they will carry the same calm that once rescued you. You may not realize it yet, but the atmosphere around you is already changing. People are drawn to your peace without knowing why. They feel safe in your silence because your silence is filled with presence. This is what the whisper does. It transforms you into a vessel of divine rest. Archangel Michael says, you are becoming what you once sought. You used to search for sign, for proof, for something loud enough to confirm your faith. But now, you are the sign. Your calm in chaos is the sign. Your peace in pressure is the proof. You no longer chase after the voice of God. The voice of God now flows through you. The angel explains that this is how heaven expands its influence on earth, not through noise, but through resonance. The whisper moves from one heart to another, not by force but by recognition. When those around you encounter the peace you carry, something inside them will stir. Your souls will remember the sound of stillness. They will begin to long for what you have found, and that longing will lead them back to God's voice. The whisper is contagious, and you are its carrier. But Archangel Michael warns gently, guard this gift carefully. The more people you influence, the greater the temptation to speak from self instead of spirit. You must remain rooted in the same stillness that trained you. Never allow performance to replace presence. The whisper cannot be manufactured. It can only be maintained through humility. If you ever feel the peace fading, step back into silence. The source of the whisper is not your voice. It is God's breath. Stay near the breath, and the whisper will remain strong within you. The angel reveals that you are now entering what heaven calls the season of resonance. In this season, your presence will do more than your words. You will find that simply being where God sends you will shift environments. Meetings will change, families will reconcile, confusion will lift, and unseen barriers will crumble, all because you carry the frequency of heaven. The whisper inside you carries authority that the natural world must obey. Creation knows the sound of its creator, and when that sound moves through you, all things begin to align. Archangel Michael smiles and says, you are becoming a walking answer to someone's hidden prayer. What once seemed like random encounters will soon reveal divine orchestration. Heaven will position you near those who are on the edge of giving up, and your presence will reignite their hope. This is how revival truly begins, not through shouts and spectacle, but through whispers of love that awaken souls one by one. The fire of God now moves quietly, and you are its flame. Do not underestimate what God is doing through your stillness. You have been prepared for a world that is drowning in noise. While others fight for attention, heaven is sending you to release peace. You are not here to argue truth. You are here to embody it. And in the next revelation, you will see how the whisper you carry becomes a legacy, how your obedience in silence will echo long after your voice fades. Something eternal is being written through your surrender. Type I carry the whisper in the comments if this message speaks deeply to your heart. Blessing code 2525 has just been released. May the whisper within you awaken the hearts of all who encounter your peace. Dearest vessel of light, Archangel Michael stands before you one final time in this message, his wings stretching wide, shimmering not with fire, but with quiet authority. His voice no longer thunders, it flows like calm water. You have learned to hear, he says softly. You have learned to obey. You have learned to protect and carry the whisper. Now, you must become the whisper itself. This is the ultimate transformation, the final revelation that heaven has been leading you toward. You were never meant only to receive. You were meant to embody. The whisper of God must become your essence, your presence, your very way of being in this world. Archangel Michael continues, "The loudness of this age will not end by argument or debate. It will end when those who carry heaven's stillness walk the earth. You are that stillness. You are heaven's answer to chaos. The very same voice that spoke into your confusion now speaks through you into the confusion of others. Every storm you endured trained your tone. Every delay refined your hearing. Every tear watered your authority. Nothing was wasted. The silence that once broke you is now the source of your power. You must understand what had been entrusted to you. The whisper of God is not merely sound. It is presence. It carries the fragrance of peace, the vibration of truth, the rhythm of love. When people encounter you, they will encounter this frequency without even realizing it. They will sense calm, feel safe, and begin to hear their own whispers again. This is how the divine works. It multiplies through recognition. You have become a mirror of heaven's gentleness in a world addicted to noise. Archangel Michael declares, "Now you must walk as one who hears continually. The moment of your life is ordinary anymore. The divine conversation is ongoing. When you walk, heaven walks. When you breathe, heaven breathes. Every thought that carries peace, every decision that flows with inner stillness, is heaven speaking through you. You have crossed the threshold between hearing and becoming. The whisper has shaped your spirit into an instrument that releases light through tone, action, and energy. There will be days when the world will attempt to drag you back into its chaos. People will demand proof, explanations, or noise. But remember what heaven has taught you. The loudest power is stillness. You not be tempted to shout what can only be expressed in peace. When they try to provoke, you respond with gentleness. When they argue, you remain calm. For silence held in divine awareness is stronger than the roar of any storm. You no longer speak to convince, you live to confirm. Your presence alone becomes testimony. The angel leans forward, his gaze filled with glory. Child, you are no longer waiting for a sign from God. You have become the sign. The miracles you once chased will now follow you. The confirmation you once needed will now come from within. Heaven is not distant anymore. It resonates in your very being. You are walking proof that God still speaks. And the beauty of it all is this: the whisper never ends. It does not fade when you leave this moment. It flows into every breath, every word, every step you take from here. Take this as your divine completion. The silence you once feared has become your sacred language. The whisper you once doubted has become your identity. And now, wherever you go, heaven will follow your sound. This is not the end of the message. It is the beginning of a new way of hearing, living, and becoming. The world needs your stillness. It needs your peace. It needs the whisper that you now are. If this message has stirred your heart and confirmed your journey, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe so others may also awaken to this revelation of divine stillness and truth. Let us fill this noisy world with the quiet voice of heaven once again. Type "I am the whisper" in the comments if your spirit receives this completion. Blessing code 3030 has now been released. You are sealed in divine harmony. Your voice aligned with the heart of heaven forever. Beloved, as this message closes, Archangel Michael invites you into the continuation of heaven's work. The whisper you have received must keep echoing beyond this moment. Every act of support becomes a wave that carries this light to another soul searching for God's voice. When you sow into this mission, you are not giving to a platform. You are partnering with heaven's agenda to restore stillness to the earth. The seed you release will speak back to you. It will whisper blessings, peace, and provision into your life. Remember the promise of Scripture. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is not poetry. It is divine law. When you support through Super Thanks, channel membership, or PayPal using the link in the description, you activate that law over your life. Your generosity becomes a prophetic sound that tells heaven, I am aligned with the whisper, and heaven responds with abundance. Step into that flow boldly. Release what you carry. As you help spread the whisper, heaven will make sure you never stop hearing it.